Well, hello everyone. Welcome to ProductTank London. Thanks for joining us today. We are very excited to have all of you here today with us. This is the first ProductTank London event in 2022. So we are all very excited to kick off the year with such an amazing topic and such brilliant speakers. For those of you who are joining us for the first time, ProductTank is the world's largest product community. It was created by product people and for product people. And if you're not based in London, there are more than 200 cities around the world where our meetups are happening. So in case you're not based in London, make sure to check out our map in here, and I'm sure you'll find a local ProductTank hub in one of your cities. There are numerous ways for you to get involved with the community if you were interested. So one of the first ones and one of the most popular ones is potentially to speak at one of the ProductTank events. So in case you're interested, please do let us know via email or via Twitter. We'll be happy to talk to you about that. The other way to get involved is to host or sponsor a ProductTank event. So if you're interested, again, please let us know. We'll be very happy to chat to you about that. In case you like writing and you have some topics that are dear to your heart and you wanted to explore more about the topics, please do visit our website, mindtheproduct.com, and there you'll be able to submit a topic as well as submit one of your articles for our website. And lastly, you can always become a Mind the Product member, where you'll be able to learn from the best experts in the field, as well as meet some fantastic people along the way. So make sure you check out that opportunity as well. During the session today, we'll have the opportunity to ask questions. So if you have any questions throughout the session, please head to slido.com using the code you see now on the screen. You'll be able to ask as many questions as you'd like, and we'll have the Q&A session in the end where all of our speakers will be happy to answer some of your questions. So make sure to submit your questions on slido.com. Excellent. So today our topic is leading product managers, and we have three fantastic speakers joining us today. And without further ado, I wanted to introduce our first speaker who will be kicking off today's session. Akhila is a lead product manager at Metigy. She will be talking about her experience switching from individual contributor to a product lead and her experience building the product team there from the ground up. Over to you, Akhila.
Thank you, Irina. Hey, everyone. I'm Akhila, lead product manager at Metigy, and I'm so excited to be here. So excited that I'm talking from Sydney at 6 a.m. in the morning on a public holiday. Anyways, so on this theme of leading product managers, I wanted to take all of you through my journey and the lessons I've learned building a product team at Metigy from 0 to 5. Throughout this presentation, what you will see is how I have been able to sort of leverage my product thinking in product leadership. So I want to start right at the beginning, at a time when I was mulling, how do I transition into a product leader? I had plenty of experience as a product manager, but I wanted to take the next step in my career. Most of you know this is Roman Pichler's product vision board. What it talks to is you sort of define what is the vision for your product, what are the business goals that you want to achieve, who are your target group of customers, what are their needs, and what are you going to do in terms of building the product that's going to meet those needs for those target group of customers that will help you achieve your business goals while staying true to your product vision. I sort of changed this over to become more like a career vision board. So when I was mulling over a transition, I sort of defined, okay, what is my vision? I simply love product and I want to go as far as I can. In terms of business goals, hopefully I want to be a CPO one day, which means I need to take baby steps along the way. And the first step would be to get to a place where I can start leading product managers. Now, the pain point that you typically experience is in order to get a head of product role, you need to have experience managing PMs. So it was a bit of a chicken and egg scenario. And that's where the target group really got interesting, because about a year ago, I started to see an emerging trend in Sydney around lead product managers and first PM roles. A lot of startups coming of age, and the founders going, it's time to get a product manager or two. And my hypothesis was that was my way in. And then in true product manager fashion, I run experiments when I have a hypothesis. So for my first experiment was a lead product manager role who was meant to transition into head of product, and I failed in round 2. The second experiment was a head of product role, and I failed in the final round, and they went with somebody with previous head of product experience instead. And the last experiment I ran, which was successful, was at Metigy, but the CEO was looking for a product manager, and I pitched this role. But I said, "Look, I'm happy to come over and do, product manage one of your squads, but I want to do more. I want to help you build the product team at Metigy." And he was like, "Yeah, welcome aboard." So now I found myself at Metigy. Recently, they had transitioned into cross-functional squads, which was awesome. I looked at the squad structure. It made sense, so that was fantastic as well. And at the outset, it was quite clear to me that we needed around like 5 to 6 PMs because we had 5 to 6 squads. It made total sense. Now, as a newly minted head of product, it might be very tempting to go all guns blazing and hire the entire team at once. But I'd take a leaf out of the lean startup cycle and have like a lean hiring cycle where I'd suggest to go slow in order to go fast. And the 2 main reasons for it. One, just because there's no product function in a startup doesn't mean product work is not happening. It's happening, and it's distributed amongst founders, tech leads, engineers, designers, marketers, customer success, you name it. So bringing in a product manager who is going to do some of this product work is change. We're humans. Change is scary. So imagine if I were to bring in a full-fledged product team, all of a sudden, it's a much bigger change, and it's a much scarier change. So that's one of the reasons I say go slow to go fast. And the second reason is, from a product manager's role is one of high visibility. All our success and failures are there for everybody to see. So I'd rather bring in a PM one at a time, make sure I've set them up for success, because not only does it impact them, but it also impacts the perception of any other PM who are going to come down the line. Yeah. So that's where I sort of got inspired by the lean startup cycle, the build, measure, learn group around an idea, and how you sort of do small iterations over time, learn, and keep improving on the idea. So I have the lean hiring cycle, which is essentially I focus on 1 PM, hiring them well, onboarding them well, learning from this, measuring and learning from this process, and starting the cycle all over again. And I kid you not when I say you go slow in order to go fast, because in a matter of 6 months, we became a full-fledged team of 5 product managers. And the other advantage with this approach is because you're so focused on getting this 1 PM to success, every time I finished a cycle and I went to the CEO and said, "Hey, look, now this is working. I think I'd like to focus on getting this squad and this product stream a product manager and getting traction for that product stream." It was a simple 5-minute conversation as to what my plans were and what is the kind of PM I was looking to hire. The next thing I want to talk about is like focusing on onboarding, and the parallel I draw with is activation. So recently I finished like a retention program at Reforge, which was really awesome. What is activation? Activation, a lot of you know about it, but I'm just going to talk through this. So activation is nothing but taking a potential user who's just signed up into a habit-forming moment around your core value proposition, right? And as PMs, why do we focus on activation? Even though, probably activation maybe can take a day, a week, or a month, depending on the natural frequency of your product. And if you consider the lifetime of the user, it's really such a small fraction of time that they will be in the activation phase. But as PMs, why do we focus on activation? We do that because at the end of the day, the user that you have here is going to be retained and is going to be engaged. So the lifetime value of the user and the compounding returns it generates makes us focus on activation and getting activation right so that you don't have users dropping off the bridge. Onboarding is no different, right? All you're doing in onboarding is taking a new hire and setting them up for success. So at Metigy, we had like 5 outcomes we wanted to achieve with our onboarding. 1, product management. A crucial aspect of product management is relationship building. So getting the incoming PM started on building those relationships with meet and greets was important. Outcome number 2, we wanted the PM to understand how do they fit into the jigsaw puzzle that Metigy is, and what is the impact that they are going to have on our organization. That's why a deep dive into vision, strategy, roadmap is crucial to set the scene. Next up, outcome number 3, in any new startup, the processes are typically not that well defined. And if you don't have a product function, you don't have a well-defined product process. As a product leader, it was imperative that I put a stake in the ground and define my good. Like, what does good discovery look like? What does good delivery look like? How do we do go to market? And in a lot of early stage startups, it's quite typical not to have dedicated planning sessions. So how do we do strategy? How do we do quarterly planning with OKS? I had to define these processes. And then when a new PM came in, take them to the process, because otherwise they're coming into an empty state and they can feel lost. The 4th outcome we were after was within a week of them joining, they should be comfortable digging into the product, into understanding user behavior, into the data. And that's where doing demos, telling them where have we recorded the user interviews, or getting them to sit in on a few user interviews, and doing a tools walkthrough as to what tools are available, which tool do you use for what info and for what purpose, just sets them up for success and makes them run with things. Last but not the least, any PM who's joining Metigy, just like me, hasn't joined Metigy just to take the product to the next level, but also to further their career, right? So to talk through how would Metigy and I support them in their personal development and their career right at the time of onboarding is important. Also, what I'd like to call out is a lot of startups do not have personal development plan frameworks in place, but don't let that hold you back. Don't wait for HR to define it for you. There are plenty of frameworks available for PMs. Metigy, for instance, has one. Just evaluate a few, see what works for you, and go with it. Just choose a framework, adapt it to what to your needs, and just run with it. Now, by focusing intensely on onboarding, it took us like a week to 2 weeks to go through these to get to these 5 outcomes. And then by 3 to 4 weeks, all our PMs were running with their squads and their product stream. The last thing I do want to talk about is taking a leaf out of Teresa Torres's continuous discovery. What is continuous discovery? It's weekly touch points with customers by the team building the product, where they conduct small research activities in pursuit of a desired product outcome. And I've sort of flipped that around to call it out as continuous improvement, because what I'm trying to do here is leveraging my team's collective wisdom to improve our product practice and to evolve our product practice. So what is continuous improvement? It's monthly touch points by the team building the product, where they conduct process experiments in pursuit of a desired outcome. So kind of a bit of a mouthful. Let me just give a couple of examples as to how it panned out. So we have our product development planning framework. And the way the framework works, typically most frameworks work, is you have like about 8 to 12 areas of product areas. And the PM and I, we discuss for the next quarter, what are the 3 areas that they'd like to focus on. And for each of those areas, we identify concrete action items to help up-level them in that product area. Now, in parallel, what I have going is a rather long list of things that we can do to improve our product practice. And I see is if there is any synergy between what I'd like to improve from our product practice perspective and the focus area that the PM is interested in personally. And if there's alignment, we talk about it. And if they're interested, they're going to run with it in order to improve that practice area. So for instance, I had a senior PM join Metigy, we did her PDP plan. And two things that came out of it was, one, she wanted to demonstrate her stakeholder skills because she was new to the organization. Two, she wanted to demonstrate her leadership skills because she was new to the organization. In that quarter, I wanted to focus on developing a strategy framework because the following quarter, I wanted us to start doing strategy sessions. And I had worked with her previously. She was good at strategy. I offered, hey, look, I was planning to do this, but you're more than welcome. We can work on it together, but you take the lead on this. And she did. She presented it to the CEO, got buy-in, and then coached the product team as to how to use that framework to think strategy. The other example is another product manager who wants to focus on improving product tactics. I have a need to improve the pace of our discovery at Metigy. And I had a chat with her, like, look, I want to do this, and you want to improve on your discovery, on your tactics. If you're interested in discovery tactics, then you can try one or two and see what works and then coach the team accordingly. The key takeaway here is I've been a product leader for less than a year, but collectively my team is very wise. So why should I not be tapping into their wisdom? Last but not the least, through the rigors of product management and leadership, one thing that has really helped me is an attitude of gratitude. No matter what the day throws at me, to be able to step back and just think about the things I'm grateful for and realize usually I'm grateful for more things than all the bad things that's happening. And in that spirit, I just wanted to shout out a few people. On top left is our CEO, who's truly the wind beneath my wings. Our CTO and co-founder Johnson. If you read any product leadership book, one of the most important relationships that they'd ask you to nurture is that with your engineering leader. And that's so true. And of course, our kick-ass miracle workers, CJ, Chev, Yulia, and Pip, who's building an awesome product culture at Metigy with me. And if there's one takeaway I'd give from this, from my talk, it is please, if you find yourself in my situation, please find yourself a mentor. So Lynn is my mentor, and to be able to go to her when all these curveballs are coming at me, and to be able to have a chat with somebody who's been there, done that before, who does not work in your organization, just makes it so much easier and simpler for you. And a few shout outs to books that have influenced my leadership style. This is a product meetup. I don't need to talk about Martech again, and inspired and empowered product teams. Radical Candor did open my eyes as to what my strengths and weaknesses are as a leader. So I'm good at giving feedback. I'm not good at challenging thinking. I need to work on it. Petra Will's Strong Product People set a strong baseline as to what are the jobs to be done by a product leader. And last but not the least, I don't know why am I talking about stoicism to Brits, but yeah, Daily Stoic by Ryan Holiday, because through the stresses of product leadership, you face many situations, and to be able to think through what are the things I can control, what are the things I can't control, not fret about the things you can't control, but think about the things that you can control. Too many controls in this sentence, and sort of figure out what your options are and just run with it. Yeah. So with that thought, I want to quickly summarize. As a PM, you have a strong bias towards action. Use that to further your career. As a new head of product, it's tempting to make big changes, go slow to go fast. As a head of product, it's your job to set your people up for success. Sum is greater than the parts. Leverage your team's collective wisdom and passion to build a kick-ass product culture and practice. Keep calm and carry on. Thank you. Back to you, Irina.
Thank you so much, Akhila. That was so inspiring and motivating. Thank you so much. I really enjoyed your approach to have a build, measure, learn, and to apply to your building your product team. So amazing. Thank you so much, Akhila. I will see you in a bit during the Q&A a bit later. Thank you so much. Perfect. We are moving on to our second speaker, and I'd like to introduce Moria. Hello there. Moria is a product management consultant as well as a general manager at Product League, which is the world's most trusted product management mentoring program, which works in about 30 countries around the world. How amazing is that? Moria is going to talk about the ways to kick off your 2022 on the right foot and set smart goals and use them the right way. Really excited about this one. I'm ready to take notes, Maria. So over to you now.
Thank you very much, Irina. Thank you very much, James, everyone on the team of ProductTank London. Thank you so much for having me. And Akhila, what an amazing opening for the session. So thank you very much for setting the right mood and mode for talking about managing product managers. As Irina said, my name is Maria Cassis. I'm the founder and general manager of Product League. I'm also a product management consultant. I am super excited to be here with you today, and I hope that you are ready to product party with me. So I am based in Tel Aviv, but as a product consultant, I'm actually leading the product team in a fintech startup in London. So I'm kind of close to you right now. And my job as a product consultant is a lot about building product team. A big portion of what I do is building product team, fixing product team, setting the right mode for a team to work together. And a big portion of what I do as the general manager of Product League is also around teams, because I am training both mentors and mentees to do their job. So I'm a big believer in leading others and managing. And today we're going to learn together how to do that with the help of setting SMART goals. Now, before we start, guys, I need to know what are your goals, right? Because your goals are my mission at the current moment. So please use the chat to let me know what are your goals. Just comment wherever you are watching us and let me know what are your goals. Why are you joining us today to learn about managing other product managers? Now, aside of that, you have another call to action. As was mentioned, you have a link pinned in the upper part of the chat to download 2 files. So you have 2 cheat sheets for our session today, where we are going to practice SMART goals together. Please make sure to download them, because we're going to use them together. They're going to make your life easier and the whole process of setting SMART goals way nicer to you. So guys, what is it to be a manager? Let's talk for a second. Let's start with the beginning. We're product managers. It's all about the why and, asking questions. Why are we here? Why do we need to talk and discuss the topic of managing other product managers? It can seem to be, like an easy task, but we all know that this is not an easy task, right? So what is it to be a manager of others, a manager of other product managers? Again, please feel free to party with me and comment in the chat to let me know what are your thoughts. What is it to be a product manager who is actually managing others? What is it about? Okay, what are the essence? Leave the title aside. Okay, we don't talk about titles. We're just talking about the essence of leading others as product managers. Now, if you ask me, it's about enabling others. This is our job as product managers. We are enabling others, and when we are managing other product managers, then we have to make sure that our work enables their work as product managers. Now, we all know this terminology of vitamins and painkillers when we are talking about products. And if you want something to be a necessity, if you want something to be a valuable product, you need it to be a painkiller, because then people understand what is the value behind this product. And it's the same when we're talking about our role as the managers of other product managers. We want to be painkillers. We want to understand how can we enable other people on our team and take their pain away, to let them to do their job in the best way possible. Because guys, this is how you become a linchpin. This is how you become a product leader. When you take the pain out of the work of your colleagues, either if you have the authority or not, we're going to discuss that in just a few, okay? This is how you do it, by taking the pain away from them. Now, when we're talking about the pain as product managers, this is something I want to share with you. So just a week ago, we posted a poll on the LinkedIn page of Product League, and we asked, what is the biggest pain for you? All product managers in the audience. What triggers an emotional reaction in you, and why? Now, we gave 4 options. A feature not performing well, product managers, right? We build features all day long. Then it's not meeting your standards. The third is criticism by colleagues. And the fourth, feeling that you are stuck. Okay? That's what's happening. These are the emotions that we have as product managers. And we ask, as product managers do, to prioritize what triggers an emotional reaction. Now, take a second. Think what trigger an emotional reaction in you. And I'll let you know the answer of the poem. Because the two most chosen triggers were, first, not meeting my standards, but even higher than that, feeling that you are stuck. Leave features aside, leave the success of the product aside, leave criticism, right? Feedback. Leave that aside. It's about not meeting your own standards, and it's about feeling that you are stuck. And this is exactly why goals are so important. Because when you set goals the right way, a way that helps you to actually achieve these goals and make them happen, this is when you're not stuck. This is when it's not only that you meet your standards, actually your standards are becoming higher and higher because you see some value in your work, because you achieve something new. And this is why we're going to talk about SMART goals. I hope that all of you guys already downloaded the files. You have 2 files to download. Please make sure to download them because we just start now. So the first thing is for you to brainstorm the goals. Okay, now James and Arena, if you can please show the brainstorming file on the screen, that will be very, very helpful, because I want to brainstorm your goals with you. And guys, when we're talking about your goals or your team goals, we're not just talking about, the traditional career growth goals. We're talking about everything. We're talking about your well-being. We talk about your hard skills. We talk about your soft skills. And we even talk about goals that you're not sure where they're going to lead you to. Okay, so this is the experiments. Like, I have a goal of running a team meeting every 2 weeks for us to discuss product matters or new methods in product management. I'm not sure where it's going to lead me, but I have a sense that it's going to take me somewhere good. So this is going to be my goal. Okay, this is an experiment, for example, because you don't really know where it's going to head you to, but you want to test it, right? You want it to be your goal. So this is where we are starting with writing down a few goals for each bucket: your well-being, your career growth, your hard skills, your soft skills, the experimental things that you don't know where they're going to lead you to, but you know that you are set for success if you're just going to try that. Now, when you download the file, guys, it's editable, right? You don't even need to print it or anything. Just click, okay? Put all your thoughts into it. Just take it off your mind, off your heart, everything. Just put it there. Don't think, just write it down, okay? Because then we're going to move on into making it smart. Now, your next step is to choose 5 of these goals, okay? And we are going to make them smart together. Irina and James, can you please set, yes, exactly right. You're reading my minds already. So the next step for us is to make them smart, as I mentioned. So you start with the initial goal. You start with this like one sentence that you wrote in the previous file, okay? And now we're going to make it smart together. We're going to follow this method, and at the end, you will see that it will lead you to write your SMART goal in the right way. In the bottom part, my recommendation is to use this file for each one separately, for each one of the goals that you are going to make smart, because it's going to make it easier for you. And now we're going back to the slides. The magic of online, exactly right. Yes, and we are starting to make it smart. So we start with specifics, okay? Specifics is about to set a clear outcome. Now, why is it so important? You all know that if you don't know where you're heading, the lower the chances are that you will actually get there. Okay, so you need to understand how you are going to recognize your success. Okay, you need to know that you can visualize the outcome. For example, if we go back to this imaginary example that I said just a minute ago, okay, so we talked about, I think it was a meeting every 2 weeks or something like that. So a meeting every 2 weeks, it's specific, right? I know what I should envision, how it looks like. Okay, so this is very specific. Try to be as specific as possible. It will help you a lot. The second thing is measurable. Okay, we want to understand how to track it. If you can't track something, if you can't measure something, you can't really say that you achieved that, right? We all have biases. You put the work into it, so at the end, you may find yourself asking whether you achieved it or not, but you already put the work in it, right? And you may be biased, thinking that you achieved your goal, but you're not. You're not there yet. Or the other way around. Maybe you are biased and you think very harsh about yourself, and you don't let yourself to win and to actually enjoy your wins. That happens too. So when we set a very measurable way to understand whether we achieved our goal or not, this is where we can make it trackable in a way that leads us to success. Now, oftentimes I'm asked, okay, so when we talk about hard skills, it's somewhat easy to track and measure it. But what happens when we talk about soft skills? What about well-being? Okay, this is a hard one. And my recommendation there is to measure it with the way you feel. So for example, many of the mentees and mentors on our program, they're good at what they do. They're like amazing product managers, but they still have this like fear when they have to present their ideas in front of stakeholders, like C-levels and, important people. So a way to track and measure your success when it comes to your ability to present in front of important people is the way you feel about yourself. Try to measure your fear. Try to measure this anxiety that you have within you. It's not easy, but if you truly listen to yourself, you can put volume to it. You can measure it. For example, how long it takes you to relax before you go on stage. How easy it is for you to say yes for a presentation, right? How happy or not you are when you are being called to have a presentation, to make a presentation. So your way to think about measurable objects and goals is not only when it comes to hard skills, it's also about the soft skills as well. And this is very important to remember. The third thing for you guys to remember, it has to be achievable. Without realistic goals, nothing is going to get done. And actually, you are setting yourself not only for failure, but to sadness and disappointment. Be realistic, right? Look at yourself, know where you're standing, know how much of progress you can actually achieve. Avoid setting really, really high goals, because then you set up yourself for failure, and none of us want that to happen, right? This is not why we're meeting here. So be realistic a bit with yourself. Look at yourself like that, right? Be real and write yourself goals that are achievable. Now, relevant is an interesting one, okay? Because I really want you to set goals for yourself. It's so easy to read a book or listen to a podcast and then be inspired to have someone else's goals. Don't do that. Set goals that are about you. that are relevant to your life, to your reality. Now, things that are relevant to you are about where you live, where you are in your career, the year that we are at, right? 2022, right? Some goals, for example, may have been relevant for 5 years ago, but are not relevant now. With COVID, everything changed. So when you set yourself to achieve goals that are relevant to your life at this day, this is when you get success. And this is when you get the opportunity to achieve something that is true to you. Don't just, copy someone else's goals. It's not just about watching a movie or listening to a podcast and then thinking to yourself, this is what I need to get in my life. No. We are here to achieve your goals. And then it's about time, because without deadline, there is no much of outcome. Okay, so you need to have a very clear time frame. Give yourself the right time to achieve something, not too much, not too little. Okay, don't be harsh with yourself. We said it, we have to be very realistic here, but set some time. Now, one of the questions that I'm being asked very often when I do this kind of training with mentors, mentees, and product teams is, well, my goal is for 4 years from now. So what am I going to track time-wise? Now, guys, every goal can be break down into smaller goals. So my suggestion to you is that if your goal, your big goal, is to be achieved for more than 6 months from today, break it down. Make it smaller, make it into smaller pieces, and then make sure to track each one of these smaller pieces with the right time bound. Why? Because then it's like steps, right? You get to the first floor, you know that you achieved that, and then you can go upper to the next one. But you can't climb two stairs or 2 floors at once. You have to start with the first. So if you have a big goal, something that takes longer than 6 months, break it down and have a time measure for each one of them for you to actually achieve that. Now, goals are important. And I want you not just to follow the goals and the SMART method with yourself. My recommendation for you is to start doing this task, this assignment by yourself. Okay, set yourself to success and actually write down all your goals, your well-being goals, your soft skills goals, your hard skills goals, everything. Then choose 5 of them. Make them SMART. Challenge yourself, okay? Make sure that they're truly SMART. But then do it with your team. Now, some of you here in the audience are already managing other product managers. And some of you are product managers that are set to the leadership success, but you're not there quite. Now, when we just opened this session, I told you that SMART goals and the idea of goals in general has a lot to do with leadership. And it has a lot to do with authority. Now, here it's where it becomes very interesting. My recommendation to each and every one of you in the audience that want to become a manager of other product managers one day is to do this task, to have this session with your team. If you have a product team, it's okay. You don't need to manage your team. But if you have a product team, do it with them. If you are a solo product manager at the company, grab the developers, the designers, whoever you have on your team, and do that with them, okay? And then you set yourself to leadership, because there you show that you know how to lead without authority. Okay, do it online or do it offline if you can, and try to learn what is it that inspires your teammates. This is when you become a leader. This is where you know what is on their heart and on their mind. what are their goals, both when it comes to their job and to your job because you work together, but also in their personal lives. And you allow yourself to be a linchpin. You allow yourself to be an enabler, a manager of other product managers, even without having the title of a manager, just because you lead them to success. The morning after you have this session with your colleagues, you know what is important to them. You know what are their goals. And then you know how to manage them in the sense of enabling them to get their results that they want to have in their life, the goals that they want to achieve in a way that you couldn't do before. So if you are managing other product managers, do it tomorrow. Have this session with your team. Take these cheat sheets. Give it to everyone on your team. Learn what motivates your team. If you are not a manager yet, this is the way you make yourself a leadership material. And I can't wait to see everyone in the audience setting themselves to success with smart goals and enabling others to achieve what's important to them. Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you so much, Maria. That was so great. I downloaded the template. I started drafting some of the questions. That was very thought-provoking and very interesting. Thank you so much, Maria. I hope we see some really good questions from it. So make sure you submit your questions, guys, and we'll make sure we answer them in the end. Perfect. Moving on, our last speaker for today is fantastic Anna. Anna is an ex-product lead at Workplace by Facebook and a current co-founder and a CEO of Vector AI. And Anna will be talking about the ways to conduct your career conversations with your employees, as well as we'll share three ways to be more impactful in your next career conversation. Over to you, Anna. Fantastic topic.
Thank you, Irina. And thank you to our previous speakers. I learned a lot from you, so fantastic conversation. And just a reminder to everyone who is watching us in real time, leave your questions in Slido and add comments. So that's very useful to see what you're thinking and what you like to discuss in our Q&A. So my name is Anna Budakova. So as Irina said, I'm an ex-product lead at Meta, Facebook, where I supported 6 teams working on the core experience of the workplace product. That's our B2B product for work communication. And previously I worked at Intercom, at Yandex, multiple startups. And now I am a CEO and a co-founder of Vector AI. That is a platform that helps you find mentors in tech and is free to use. If you feel stuck in your career or want to grow to the next level, feel free to give it a try. So as a mentor and a manager myself, I'm deeply passionate about career development. So let me first ask you a question, and feel free to use the comment box in YouTube if you're watching us through YouTube. So have you ever tried to grow a plant? So you can send me a plus in YouTube if you did. So I did it. But have you ever killed a plant? I also did it. And obviously that wasn't some evil plan that I was creating at night in my science lab. Of course, I just foolishly thought that I could just water my plant occasionally and then it will grow. And yes, that happens sometimes. Some tough cookies make it on their own. But in the majority of cases, growth actually requires knowledge and commitment. And actually, this is supported by many researchers, especially during the COVID time. A lot of people say that a clear path to growth, that is essentially career development, is one of the key factors that keeps them engaged at work. And there is a strong correlation between people's perception of their opportunities for career growth and intent to stay with their employer. So lack of clarity on their expectations in their career is actually one of the main reasons why people leave their jobs. And there are many missed opportunities that you might have because instead of hiring people externally, which is always very expensive and might take a very long time, you can help your existing employees to grow and close your open positions. Obviously, that's not possible to cover everything about career development in 15 minutes, as it includes a lot of topics like psychology, organizational development, design, and so on. But I want to share with you 3 frameworks that I found the most useful in my career as a manager. So let's imagine the following situation. So let's imagine that you have an underperformer, let's call him John, and you need to talk to him about a certain skill that he needs to develop and improve. So how would you start this conversation? So in order to address this right, you actually need to have an understanding of a system 1 versus system 2. I'm sure many of you are familiar with the work of Daniel Kahneman, a Nobel Prize winner, and his book, Thinking Fast and Flow. I'm sure that many of you remember the ideas, but let me remind you the core concept here. So the system 1 is a part of our brain that operates automatically. It's very quick, it requires almost no effort, and it's responsible for almost all our habits. So essentially, it's acting on our subconscious level, and almost always it's out of our voluntary control. As opposed to this, system 2 is much slower. It requires a lot of energy, but at the same time, it's much more rational and thoughtful. So essentially, system 1 is obviously very useful in the fight or flight situations. Like if you are attacked by a lion, you obviously don't need to sit, and you need just to jump and run. But in the cases where you need to make a very conscious decision, then you need to go to your system 2. So why is this important to you as a manager? On average, we make 35,000 decisions per day, and 98% of them are made by system 1. So next time when you're talking to your report, it's likely that you're talking to the irrational and emotional part of their brain. So in our situation with John, as soon as you start sharing this negative feedback, system 1 will subconsciously identify the threat, will panic, and will enable all the corresponding physiological response like increased heart rate, tunnel vision, lack of concentration on the topic. And it means that a conversation that you're having with John will be unproductive and is likely to not result in the change that you want to drive, because John won't be able to comprehend that. He will just focus on this negative message and on the threat. So what should you do then? The most important part here is that you should try to transfer the thinking from system 1 to system 2. So from irrational and emotional response to rational and thoughtful. So how do you do that? There are many things that you can apply, but I will talk about the main 3 areas. So the first one is that you should lead with questions rather than with statements. So for example, if I say to John, your presentation to leadership lacked structure. So he's likely to over-index on that, and he will miss everything that I will say to him afterwards. But if I say, for example, you did the presentation to leadership on Friday. In your opinion, what went well and what could you improve? So this would actually activate the rational thinking process because John will be reflecting on the situation. So the second part is that you should focus on action rather than on conversation. So conversation with no action in it leaves your report on an individual that you're talking to in this kind of rabbit hole when they start overthinking, and they can easily get from I did a poor presentation to, oh my God, I'm a bad PM and a very bad human being. Clear action plan actually creates a sense of optimism that helps people see the situation as just a temporary challenge that they can easily overcome. All right, and then the last point is that you should outline the future rather than analyze the past. It's a bit controversial, shouldn't you reflect on your past in order to grow? Of course, but again, it's more about the framing. So for example, if I say to John, why was your presentation not very structured? It's likely to trigger a very defensive answer, like I didn't sleep well, I didn't know what was required, and so on and so forth. So the question why very often triggers like a feeling of guilt, like you didn't do your homework or something like that. But if I ask John, what did you learn and how could you use this information, those insights, in order to make your presentation better and improve next time? This actually can focus on the learning outcomes and make the conversation much more constructive. Another interesting thing here is that as soon as something becomes a part of our system one, essentially becomes our habit, it's very, very hard to change. So instead of trying to deconstruct and break the past old habits, you need to try to create the new behaviors. All right, so let's imagine you had this conversation with John, you discussed it, you outlined the plan of action, but then the next 2 weeks pass and nothing happens. What do you do next? So that's where I find this concept of behavior model the most useful and helpful. So this concept was developed by B.J. Fogg, who is a Stanford University professor, and it consists of 3 key elements. So the first one is motivation, the second one is ability, and the third one is prompt or trigger. So essentially this model says that a target behavior will happen only if a combination of these 3 factors will hit the right balance. So it's not necessarily that you should have the highest motivation and the highest ability and all the right prompts in place, but in case if you have like a high motivation, the ability might be low, and vice versa, if you have low motivation, ability should be higher than just being low. So for us as managers, it's very important to understand which of those components is not working when the desired behavior is not happening. So going back to my example with John, for example, if the reason is motivation, I should understand maybe they just don't know how it will have an impact on their work. Or if the reason is their ability, or more accurately, the lack of the ability, can I help them grow the skill? Or in case if it's a prompt, can I actually understand what their context is and help them identify what's the right kind of structure and actions that they can take immediately. So for example, they might be just swamped with certain processes or other priorities, and that might make it hard for them to work on those improvements. To be honest, out of those 3 components, motivation is the hardest to change. So essentially, ability and prompts can be affected by us as managers, but motivation depends on some intrinsic intents of a person. But we obviously can help with some stimuli and incentives, and understanding how brain works is also quite helpful here. So a very good example is salary versus bonuses, because essentially we have this neurotransmitter called dopamine, which is like a thing that we experience when we have a reward. And salary is quite a predictable thing that doesn't motivate us after some time. But a bonus, which is quite unpredictable and sometimes surprising, can create a good sense of motivation for people sometimes. But again, kind of going back to this model, motivation can be just temporarily impacted by those stimuli. It usually should come from the kind of intrinsic motivation of people. Cool. So, all right, let's see what happens next. When we understand those 3 components, we as managers also should adjust our behavior to support people. So essentially, our behavior and our actions should depend on where our people are in terms of their journey. And here, the most useful concept that I use is this 4 stages of competence model. So this model contains 4 stages, as it's clear from the name. And the first part is unconscious incompetence. So at this stage, a person does not understand or know how to do something, and does not necessarily recognize the deficit. And for example, if I want to transition into product management, I might not even realize what exactly it consists of, like what are the areas and what are the skills I need to develop. At a second stage called conscious incompetence, I already understand the map of the land. So essentially, I know what kind of skills I need to acquire. I just don't have them yet. The third stage is conscious competence. So at this stage, I already gained some skills, I already have some knowledge, but executing them actually requires some effort or concentration. So essentially, in order to do them, I need to focus on something. So for example, I know how to do a roadmap, but I'm not yet very confident about doing this. And then the last stage is unconscious competence. At this stage, the person had so much practice that it becomes their second nature. They can do this at night or with their closed eyes. And at this point, usually they become the best teachers, as they can explain how they do something quite well. So this model is most useful when combined with the situational leadership theory. So the situational leadership theory helps you as a manager understand how much you should support versus direct people. So let's take a look. So we are starting from the very first stage where a person doesn't have the skill. And usually at this stage, people have quite a lot of enthusiasm as they're starting something new. So imagine that you decided that you want to transition into product management. You are very happy, you are very energetic, but you just don't know what to do just yet, right? So essentially at this stage, a manager style should be directing. What it means is that you should sit down with your report and step-by-step explain how to do something. So in case of John, if he doesn't understand how to do a good structured presentation to leadership and he hasn't done it before, it won't be helpful for me just to try to cheer him up or just to ask him questions or to just delegate to him. So essentially, I should sit down with him and do a lot of hand-holding to make sure that he understands how to do it and what to do. The second stage is called explaining. So at this stage, people already have some skill, but they actually lack the motivation. Usually at this point, they actually understand how much they still don't know, and that actually leads to them losing motivation. So you as a manager need to combine direction with support to make sure that your report can make progress. So what I usually do in order to support people and help them regain this motivation is restating why they're doing something. So what will change after they achieve this result? And usually it helps to combine this direction with some autonomy that you give to people so that they could better understand how to do something. So in case of John, I can just ask him some questions on the back and then allow him to do this on his own. And also then I could clarify that improving his presentation skills could help him grow to the next level and make sure that his presentation is achieving the desired results. And at the same time, I could say very close to him to monitor his progress and make sure that we are regularly checking in on how he's doing. So essentially, it's a combination of direction and also support. And then we have the third stage. So at this stage, people already have the right skills, but the motivation and confidence might still be quite low as they just learn how to do that and aren't sure if they're doing it right. So, for example, I know how to create a structured presentation, but is it good enough? A very common symptom at this stage is an imposter syndrome when people have a lot of doubts. And as a manager, you need to help them regain their confidence. And it usually helps when you recognize their achievements, help them find new opportunities to practice the skill, or actually suggest them to become a mentor for someone who is looking for support at the earliest stages. So the last stage is probably the most rewarding. It's called delegating. And at this stage, a person that you're supporting has a lot of skills. They are very experienced. They're doing their job very well. And they are quite motivated because they can do it very well and they know it. So your job as a manager is actually to step back. In this case, you want your employee to shine and probably find the next challenge for them. So those are the three frameworks that I would definitely recommend you to start with and would explore them deeper. But career development in general is a very complex but fascinating topic. And most importantly, it's very rewarding. Even small changes can help you make a big impact in your PM's career and a big difference in their motivation. approaching these conversations and understanding what actually drives your reports can help them a lot. Growth doesn't happen on its own. Invest in it, and you'll be amazed by the results. So if you have any further questions that we won't be able to discuss in Q&A, feel free to ping me on any of those resources. I'm happy to answer on LinkedIn or on Vector. And thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Anna. That was so interesting. I really enjoyed all of the 3 frameworks, and I saw we had some very good questions about that, so I'm sure we'll cover them now during the Q&A. I think we're going to bring all of our speakers today back. Hello, everyone. We have received so many amazing questions today. Thanks, everyone, for submitting them. So I'm really keen to jump into them. And I think I would like to start with Akhila, because you're the first one, and your question also was voted for the biggest number of times. So Akhila, how your day-to-day tasks differ now that you've become a product leader?
All right. Okay, cool. Yeah, thank you. Thanks for the question. So I had a look at my calendar, because usually when we do user research and we ask our users how their day has been, they talk us through how the day has been, like what are the things that they do. So I sort of looked at my calendar as to what I'm sort of focusing on this month to see, like, okay, how does it differ? So one is focusing more on like the overarching company product strategy and the org structure, because we want to grow Metigy this year. And with growth comes, upfront thinking around what is the strategy that underpins that growth, and what is the organizational structure that we need to get to that will help us execute on that strategy. And working cross-functionally with engineering and design leaders and the CEO to sort of define strategy and the org structure is a key focus for this month and next month. The second thing I'd say is around like alignment across the various product streams. So beginning of the month, we beginning of a quarter, we run OKR session. So, and where we call out dependencies across like various squads, and leading up to it, like, sorry, can I just pause for a minute? Hey, buddy.
Sure, no worries.
Sweetie, can you please go? Thank you. All right, sorry, he just woke up. Yeah, so alignment is quite critical across like various squads. So, leading up to quarterly planning, how do we sort of align across various squads and the dependencies that we have, and also the longer term alignment. So each product stream sort of coming up, defining what their strategy is that sort of aligns with the overarching strategy, and get all the PMs sort of presenting across the multiple squads to bring alignment for the long-term vision is another focus for this month and next month. The other thing I also sort of look into is data. As PMs, we look into data, and as a head of product, I look into like more of the overarching data. So a key focus this month is like looking into retention and working with my growth partner, my growth peer, to sort of see what are the cohorts that we have, what cohorts should we sort of focus on, and how does that impact, what are the kinds of squads that we would need to build in the coming year, is another area of focus. So I think in a way, some of it has sort of shifted up in terms of like previously I would focus on the product area as a PM, but now I sort of look at it as an overarching product level. And the second thing, of course, is personal development. Like I have weekly one-on-ones and I prepare for those one-on-ones. And through the week, as I notice, things or opportunities that could that I could sort of provide to our PMs to grow, I sort of I'm garnering those opportunities for my PMs. So focusing on personal development is another key difference I find. Personal development, yeah.
Yeah, sorry. Thank you so much for sharing that, Akhila. That was very interesting. One of the other very popular questions was that whether becoming a product leader should be, the end goal for every product manager, or do you think there could be other ways to grow with your career? Maria, do you have any thoughts about that?
All right, so sorry, I'm so distracted with both my kids having just woken up. They're gonna go out now. All right. Yeah. Okay.
Maria, do you have any thoughts about?
Yeah. Yes. Absolutely. Like, let's have it. Yeah. Look. End of the day, it's all about your vision, right? So, what is your vision? So, if your vision is to be a CPO, there's no going away from moving away from product leadership. You have to be a product leader to get to a CPO. But if your vision is to be a founder, or let's say your vision is completely different, you had a passion in music, but you got into product management, let's say for whatever reason, you want to go back to the music industry, that's you start with the vision and then define your goals based on what will stay true to your vision. Just like I was talking about with the product vision board, you define your product vision, you define your goals, and then you sort of look at what are the things that you need to do to get to your goals while staying true to your vision. And I do see an emergence, and this is something that I'm chatting with one of our PMs currently, is a dual track PM career as well. So one is like a PM leadership, but also just like the principal PM track, where it's more focused on the product craft itself.
Perfect. Thank you so much for sharing that. Maria, do you have any thoughts about that question as well?
Yes, thank you very much for having me and asking the question, because this is a great question. My answer, my short answer will be no, that's not for everyone. The longer version of the answer will be that I like to segment product managers into two segments. The first would be kind of like a domain experts, and the second one will be problem experts. Now, within problem experts, we can find those that their expertise is about problems that have to do with leadership and leading others and building the team. But it's totally okay. It's more than okay. It's amazing to be an expert within a domain, or to be an expert in the the challenge, the problem of, let's say, A/B testing, or data management, or just knowing everything about fintech or cybersecurity or whatever it is. And that's more than fine. And I want to say to everyone in the audience, don't be so sure that your goal, your vision, as Akhila said, is to be the manager of others. That's not for everyone. That's totally okay, more than okay. We need experts, right? We need experts. So it's more than okay. We need you guys to be expert within specific domains. However, if your expertise, if the problem that you're really good at and you're very passionate about, because it's not easy, guys, it's not easy to manage other product managers. If the problem that you are so good at solving is how to lead others to succeed, and how to make the sum of a group bigger and worth more than just the individual within it, then absolutely go and build yourself a career as the manager of others.
Perfect. Really nice. And I think this also applies not only to product managers, but also to any other profession that exists out there. That's an amazing advice. Anna, do you have any thoughts about that question as well?
I actually would add that probably leadership and management are quite different. And for example, at Facebook, we already call product managers product leaders, because they are responsible not just for the product, but for the team that is also building the product. So even though you might not have direct reports, you still want to make sure that people have high morale and they are motivated to build the product, and they are inspired about your vision. So essentially, even without leading people directly, you already have a lot of influence on what they are doing and how they are doing it. But totally agree with Maria and Akhila. I think like specifically the management part is not necessary for having a good career. Right now, more and more opportunities appear to grow as a specialist and to focus on high-scale products or very complex areas, like specializing in something or building a product for billions of people. And that's how you can grow as well.
Perfect. Thank you so much for sharing that, Anna. I have another question for you. In your experience, what was the biggest challenge in enabling your product managers in your team to succeed in their career?
So I think one of the biggest challenges for managers is how individual it is. So we like to share different frameworks and we like to share different approaches. But the most difficult part is that they don't work like it is in books. So essentially, you need to find an individual approach to everybody on your team. You need to understand their motivations. You need to understand what is blocking them. And it includes not just the actual hard skills and just doing something as it says in the instruction, but actually combining a lot of skills that you already have and trying to ensure that you build trust with this person and you achieve this kind of common understanding. And I think that's the most difficult part for any manager. But if you can crack this, you'll have a fantastic team that can follow you anywhere.
Yeah, definitely. That sounds great. Akhila, do you have any thoughts about that as well?
Yeah, I think Anna's bang on, because what I see when I talk to a lot of my product managers is, there could be a gap, and we talk about it, go read this or go speak to somebody, and it's very easy to cover the gap. The biggest challenge I find is them having the confidence to back themselves, and it just comes up time and again. And as a manager, it's sort of, when you delve into the why, you'll start to say it's not really the hard skills, as Anna was saying, but it's really that confidence. Because as PMs, there's just so much thrown our way. It's overwhelming at times, and it's easy to sort of give up. And for you to be like the cheerleader for your PMs is quite crucial. And you have to do it again and again.
Yeah, exactly. Maria, what was your experience with the challenge working with other PMs?
Cheerleaders indeed. Anna and Akhila, I totally agree with you, ladies. I will also mention that I think that one of the biggest challenges for all product managers, but especially for product managers who manage others, is the idea of bridging the gap between longer term and shorter term. Because as part of the C-level management, you have to represent sometimes the short term and sometimes the long term. It depends if this is a startup or a corporation, so it's very different. And oftentimes, what your team sees is very different. Sometimes C-level is only focused on the long run, and your team is about today and the now. And sometimes it's the other way around. And you have to find a way to bridge the gap between these two, and being the messenger in a way that helps both sides, both parties, to understand what motivates the others and what's really helping them to do their job best. So you need to train your product managers on your team to think ahead of time and to think about the budget sometimes, or things like that, or how to set pricing the right way so it will actually lead us to be on the right side of the equation. And sometimes you need to be the messenger on board meetings, for example, and represent what your team needs today. So being the one who has to bridge the gap between the short term and the long term, it's not an easy one. But it's absolutely satisfying.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you for such an insight. That was really interesting, Maria. I have another question for you right there. Do you think, when setting goals, do you think it's worth revisiting them at a certain point? And if yes, how often should this be done?
I love this question. So I'll start with an example and telling you that as it is okay to throw away the t-shirt that you bought in this concert 3 years ago, okay, it's okay to throw it away, and it's okay to throw away your goal. It's more than okay. It shows that you have developed as a person, as a product manager, that you really listen to yourself and you grow with time. So it's more than okay. It's perfect. Just make sure that when you do throw your goals away, you do it for the right reason. It's not because it wasn't that easy. It's not because it's not fashionable to achieve what's really important to you and everyone else is talking about, a different goal or something like that. Make sure that you really set yourself to focus on the things that matter to you. And if something is not matter to you anymore, or something else is prioritized more than that, then go ahead and throw a goal away. As for how often, you should do it. So I think that this is something you need to do at least once a quarter. Okay, it helps you to set yourself to better success. Don't wait for January 1st of next year to revisit your goals. Okay, we have the opportunity to do it now. It's still January, but do it again in 3 months from now. So you really set yourself to achieve that, and make sure that you, as we said, about the t-shirt, don't wear something that you don't care about anymore.
Exactly. I'm gonna go and throw out a couple of t-shirts from my closet this evening, so thanks a lot for that. Cool, amazing. Akhila, I have another question for you. What were your vision and goals when you have started working as a product leader at Metigy?
All right. Okay. So if it's referencing my career vision and goals, that in a way hasn't changed. It's still go as far as I can with product and hopefully be a CPO one day. That hasn't changed. But of course, in terms of focus areas, leading to achieving those goals or being true to that vision, the two things that I've added is one, be a better leader. And it could be books that I read or the chats that I have with my mentors, or a key element of that is also getting feedback. So every 3 months I get feedback from my team. I have like a Google form that I've set up, and I get feedback from the team as to how I'm performing as a leader and how I'm supporting them, and what are the gaps and where I can do better. And then we talk about it in one of our one-on-ones. So yes, so one focus area is to become a better leader. I am very much still growing. And two, because I'm new to Martech, to sort of understand the domain, because it's quite crucial you really understand like the widespread of that domain. Because without that, how would you even come up with like a product strategy? So across like what is social media marketing? What is EDMs? What is performance marketing? What are the needs and pain points of marketers, of small SMBs? Just doing deep dives into it has been another focus area.
Perfect. Thank you very much for sharing, Akhila. Anna, you've been a product lead for a while, and hence the question goes to you. What were the biggest challenges that you faced as a product leader in your day-to-day tasks and job?
Oh, good question. I think there are many, to be honest. And one of the biggest challenges is that probably you don't expect how many there are when you become a manager, product managers, because essentially a lot of things are hidden under the hood. And if you're working with a really good manager, then it's likely that they're just solving a lot of issues for you without you even noticing. So that's like being a system administrator. If the system works, then they're doing a really good job. So essentially, I think we already talked about this kind of individual career development. So making sure that you understand the human part of this. But also there is this a very important part on the overall storytelling and vision setting. I feel that in our times, the competition for talent is so high, and it's really hard to hire the best people. And I think like one of the best challenges right now is for people actually not being able to tell the story. Like, why the product is important? Why should it exist in the world? What is unique about this product? And a lot of people who became managers, they mostly focus on just the pure day-to-day execution, while the key part that attracts the top talent is actually the vision and what exactly you are trying to change in the world. So I think to add to what we discussed on the people management and career development plan, I'd say that probably creating the compelling and inspiring vision would be one of the key gaps that I see today in product leaders.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you very much for sharing, Anna. I think we're going to take one of the last questions now, and it's coming from me. And this would be, what would be the one piece of advice that you wanted to give product managers who are about to become product leaders? Moria, shall we start with you?
I like this challenge because if we have to prioritize one, it's really, really, really challenging, as there are so many tips and tricks to follow. Be true to yourself. I think that all of us and Akhila and myself, we talked about vision and setting your goals and knowing where you're heading and going there and being ambitious. My tip for you guys is to listen to yourself. Make sure that the career path that you're building for yourself, the vision that you have, is tailored to your needs. Don't just follow a career path that you've read about or listened to somewhere. Be passionate about what you do. Be picky, okay? And then really let yourself to set yourself on the career path that matters to you. Choose wisely the path there, and only focus on products that close to your heart and your mind and make you passionate, because we are very privileged, guys. We're extremely privileged. We all build products and we all do for a living something that most people would do for free, and we're getting paid very well for that. So just acknowledge how lucky we are, and make sure to be true to yourself, to set yourself to the career path that is true to you and the kind of leader that suits you to be.
Perfect. That was very inspiring, Maria. Thank you so much. Thanks. Akhila, do you have anything to add to that? What would be your piece of advice?
One piece of advice, which is probably unique to me, because I think most people would think about like reading books, talking to other people, is actually focusing on your inner journey. Like I talked about Davey Stoic and Ryan Holiday, and it's made a huge difference in my leadership style, because as a product manager, and even more so as a product leader, there will be a lot of stresses that come your way. If you're in for the long haul, how are you going to sustain that kind of stress and pressure? How are you going to develop self-awareness as to, well, this is stressing me out. Let me step back and come back to it a bit later when I'm a bit more calmer. So focusing on your journey, your self journey, is quite critical.
Perfect. Nice piece of advice. Thanks so much. Anna, what would be yours?
I'd say that you should accept that you're starting a new career. If you were a superstar product manager, it doesn't mean that you would be a superstar product leader from the day one. And essentially, it will be a completely new journey for you. And I find that for many people, it's a really hard fact to accept. So they actually find it shocking in their first days, because they were so good as product managers, and now they have this completely new world, and majority of the things that they were doing as PMs is not relevant anymore. So essentially, you should be, you should actually think that it's almost like transitioning into, I don't know, software development or product marketing, because it's something very new. You will fail, you will learn a lot, but it probably will make you very happy.
Yeah, and you can DM me on LinkedIn for all my failures. More than happy to wash dirty laundry when you DM me.
Perfect. I'm sure a lot of people will do, Akhila, so stay tuned. So perfect. Thank you very much, ladies, for today. This is very insightful and very nice evening. And I hope that a lot of our attendees today learned a lot from this as well. And I hope we all see a lot of good product leaders in the future. See you all in a bit. Take care and have a good rest of your day today. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Irina. Amazing job, Anna and Akhila.
Bye. Thank you.
Same to you, Maria and Anna. See ya.
See ya. Take care.